is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. We have coming in from Lake Chapala up near Guadalajara in Mexico, Samuel Kovac. He is originally from Slovakia, which he was living there at the time when it was Czechoslovakia and it was part of the Soviet bloc. He then moved to Mexico about 10 years ago, and he's been living in the Lake Chapala region, which is a beautiful region if you've never been. And he's also gotten into Bitcoin a lot. He's excited about Bitcoin and doing a number of Bitcoin-related businesses. And he's also going to be coming down to speak at Anarchapulco this coming February 27th to March 1st, right here on the beach behind me in Acapulco, Mexico. But before we get into all that, and he's got a lot of interesting things that we can talk about, including his expatriation, his experiences with the former Soviet bloc, and we might even have him on some panels at Anarchapulco related to expatriation, what it's been like to move to Mexico, how did he make a living, things like that. We'll also get into that in this interview. So let's get started. The first question I have to ask you, Samuel, is how did you become an anarchist?
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me on your show. Yeah, I was really glad to become anarchist because I was growing up in a very totalitarian and very controlled regime. Czechoslovakia was part of the communist bloc until 1989, when the change happened in our country. It was very different from what it is now and what's going on also, like, for example, in Mexico. And I was really tired and fed up with all the rules and all the controls and all the regime that was going on in Czechoslovakia. For example, I remember when I was going to a secondary school or even high school, there was this rule that you could not have long hair, because the long hair that was like for the girls. So all the boys that wanted to be a different or wanted to have for their preference, musical preference, whatever, long hair, it was forbidden. They got really bad troubles with that and problems in the school. And I think that was really absurd, but that was just part of the whole system that was controlling a lot of the parts of people's life, how they behave, how they live, how they work, study and everything. And when the change happened, I was really happy that it happened and that I could do things I liked. I could be myself finally, because you really had to pretend during communism and behave like you believe things you don't really believe, or even do things you hate. So I was really happy that all this changed, and I'm happy now to be in Mexico, because I think Mexico is more free than many countries of the Western world. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I think that's the future, really, to be free, to be open, and not to try to force people into different things. I think the variety and the choices, that's very important for life and for the business as well. And like now, it's not happening in Mexico yet, but in Europe, now we are part of European Union. Slovakia became part of European Union. And I have a deja vu sort of, because now we are controlled by European Union. They say what we can eat, because there are different things you cannot even manufacture anymore. There are this crazy things going on with the light bulbs, that you cannot have the usual light bulbs, but the very ecological ones and things like that. So I don't know where this is or leading to, but I'm really happy to be in Mexico and be part of a different movement that I think has a bright future in countries like Latin America and Mexico, where people are more open, more free. And generally, I see them even more happy, even though they don't have that much money, maybe like the Europeans, but they have different attitude. And I'm glad to be part of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Of course, I talk a lot about that, how I enjoy living in Mexico for those same reasons. And you brought up the ecological light bulbs. if you're talking about those CFL light bulbs, those are like the worst things possible for the ecology or for the environment, because I don't know if you know, they're full of mercury, and if you even break one of those things, you pretty much need a hazmat team to come into your house to clean it up. It's highly poisonous, highly toxic, and of course that's all going to get into the water. It's things like this that makes me really wonder about governments and what really is the reason for having all these things. It really seems, I think, they have these population control sort of agendas. You see that at the United Nations, things like that. And of course you can look into this stuff forever, but it really appears they're just trying to kill us all or just ruin our lives. And that's really all government ever does anyway. So I don't know why people keep wanting them, but at least here in Mexico, as you've probably noticed in the last few weeks, there's been a lot of protests. There's a talk on the street. I don't know if you're hearing this up there. Down here in the Deep South, they're pretty much talking about just getting rid of the federal government and not putting a new one in.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, here in this area, it's really quiet. Chapala is Lake Chapala, Ajijic, it's a very nice area to live because we don't almost never have protests. It's a small place. But yeah, that's also what's going on. Going back to European Union, there are people that don't want European Union anymore because it's like it's not working out for them. But it's the human, what's the word, ingenuity is really interesting. Like going back to the light bulbs, right? They are forbidden, but there are people that still sell them, and they market them or they register the light bulbs, the usual ones, as heating balls with the side effect of emitting light. So it's like you can buy it in specialized stores, but you don't say you want a light bulb. You buy it as a heater or whatever, and it still gives you light. So, I mean, this thing, this anarchy and freedom thing, I think it always finds the ways around, all these crazy rules.
Right, and then they call the free market, they call it the black market. They try to make it seem like it's really bad. Well, that's the free market. That's people trying to give people what they want and voluntary transactions. And government is all about just controlling and just regulating everything. It's crazy.
That's a good point, yeah. The free market is now becoming a black market. And the federal government, yeah, I think it's also what's happening in Europe. It's so far from the people that they don't really know what people want, because they are like here, they're in Mexico City, and maybe the officers there, they don't even know where is Chapala, you know, they don't care, but still they want to rule the whole country. And it's the same for Slovakia. There are some officials that are even not elected, and they want to rule what's going on in Slovak villages. There was another crazy thing that happened there. We have a special cheese that's called brinza, which is made from raw milk, and it's basically raw, and according to European Union, it's not hygienic. So we cannot export it, and so far we are lucky that we can even consume it in Slovakia. And it has been working for people for hundreds of years. It's very traditional, but now European Union says it's not safe enough. So and here in Mexico, I mean, you have these food stalls all over Mexico City and other places, and it's working perfectly. Nobody's dying in masses here from food poisoning. So I really
and once again, with that case, so the government in the U.S., the European Union, they outlaw things that are really, really good for you, like raw milk. It's incredibly nutritious for you. It's incredibly good, and they make them irradiated at all, which is what pasteurization is, and just completely just ruin it. So it almost has no nutritional value whatsoever. So that's what they tell us is safe, and they make us, through the use of guns and force, try to not be able to even get these sort of very healthy, very good things. And you could go over countless examples of things like that. In the US, they're just constantly shutting down organic farms and things like that. They don't want people to have access to completely healthy, natural foods. So there's a lot, it's pretty crazy, and I can't believe anyone still wants a government after all the track record of governments. 240 million people killed in the 20th century alone by their own governments, not including the wars where other governments have wars with other governments, and that's another few hundred million. So we're talking nearly like 1 billion people got killed by this institution in the last 100 years, and people still can't really figure it out that maybe we should just not have those at all. So let's talk about Bitcoin, because you're really into Bitcoin. You're telling me that you're trying to quit most of the other things you're doing because you're just so passionate about Bitcoin. Why don't you let us know when you found out about Bitcoin and what you've been doing?
Sure. Yeah, I found out about Bitcoin like more than 2 years ago. I studied economics, international trade and all these things in Slovakia when it was a free country after communism fell. Yeah, not really free anymore now, but
Free-ish.
it's,
More free, I guess you could say.
at least I could study all this free market economy and international
Right.
things. Well, before you didn't really have, economy like we know it in Czechoslovakia. But anyway, so my background was always, the markets and finances and all that. And I found out about Bitcoin on the internet, like most people probably did. And I decided just to buy a few and see how it works. And I get amazed how easy and how simple it is, especially for people like myself, like expats that live in different countries and want to deal with different countries. Like my sister lives in New York, my mom lives in Slovakia, I live in Mexico, so we have a lot of international, dealings and movements of stuff. And the Bitcoin was like, wow, this will solve a lot of problems people have. Um, and also there was this other aspect when I studied more about it and played with it a little more, how open and how free it is, because I was really upset. I have to wait for the banks to open. I have to then my mom has to wait in Slovakia for her bank to open and process a payment. Sometimes they don't like it. Sometimes they ask different questions, which is none of their business. I'm just sending money to my family or something. And the Bitcoin solves this trouble as well.
Yeah, just to briefly cut you off, today for at least 3 hours, myself and four people who worked for me were working on, the bank had frozen one of our accounts in actually the European Union, and they said, well, we don't know what you're doing. And we're like, well, what does it matter to you? It's our money. And they're like, well, we need to know who you're dealing with. You've got money going all over the place, all over the world. And we're like, so? And they're like, well, we want to know who's sending you money, who you're sending money to. And so I had to spend most of the day just trying to fix it. It's still not even fixed. Who knows if they even get fixed. So yeah, when you see Bitcoin, it's just night and day. And another thing too, so I had to call them. They're in sort of like the old Eastern Europe area. And so by the time I figured out what they wanted, they were already closed because, of course, they're about 8 hours ahead of us here.
Yeah.
And so I have to stay up tonight sometime between 1 in the morning and 8 in the morning to call them to tell them what I'm doing.
It's really crazy, yeah. And like the euro, it made things a little bit easier for people within Europe, but nothing else really changed. It's like emails. You can send emails over the weekend, but you cannot send money over the weekend, and it's still just numbers and letters, whatever, in the computer. So it's really crazy, and yeah, I got so much. It was such a revelation for me that I said, yeah, I have to get into this. I have to tell people about it. I have to promote it, and I even started using it in our business dealings because it's really so simple and so fast. In Bratislava, there is a Bitcoin ATM, and I figured out a way how I can receive money from anybody in Slovakia like very quickly. I just send them, an email with a QR code and tell them go to the ATM. They go to the ATM, they scan the code, put in the money. They don't have to know what Bitcoin is ever or something, and I know in 10 minutes that they paid me. And they can pay me on the weekend, anytime. It makes my business dealing so much easier, and people don't have to really understand it that much, but it works. So they like it.
Yeah, that's a good point, that people don't necessarily need to understand Bitcoin to actually use it in many ways, like you just pointed out. If there's enough entrepreneurs out there who are setting up these various ways, people don't even really have to know that Bitcoin was even involved in the transaction. I just saw a great meme on the internet about Western Union and Bitcoin, and of course it says Western Union, transaction fee of between $10 and $50 or something. That says Bitcoin transaction fee, 1 penny. And it says, Western Union, you can transfer a maximum of $500. Bitcoin, no maximum. It just went on like that. And it's like, man, Western Union is pretty much toast. I think they know they're toast, and it'll be a few more years, of course, but that's where the real opportunity is for entrepreneurs out there, is to set up all these sort of infrastructure. So much advantage. Of course, there's a lot of problems too, as I know from my own personal experience. I tried to start one of the first Bitcoin ATMs in the world in Cyprus when their bank machines went down, and by the end of it, I just didn't even want to be involved in the business. There's too much government regulation and all that sort of a thing. But there is opportunities out there for sure.
That's right. Yeah, like in Mexico, as far as I know, there is no real Bitcoin laws or Bitcoin regulations. So here there are even more opportunities maybe than in Europe. But also in Europe, this friend of mine that set up this ATM, he said, well, they don't really say it's a vending machine because I'm not vending any regular product, so I didn't have to get any special license, which made it easier for him. Once it gets more regulated, it will maybe be more difficult.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because we were trying to get someone to set up a Bitcoin ATM here in Acapulco prior to the Anarchapulco conference, because there's going to be a lot of Bitcoin people down here. It might be a good time to create some buzz. And yeah, I didn't even think about government regulation. If I was in the U.S., I would have been like, oh, we better call some lawyers and just make sure we don't end up in Guantanamo Bay for some one little thing we missed. But here it's such a different sort of style. It's just, yeah, just put it there. I doubt anyone would ever bother you. And that's basically the end of it.
Yeah, that's what I really like about Mexico, because in Europe it's getting more and more difficult to do any kind of business. They figured out, they came up with things like, so it's very hygienic. In the restaurants, you have to have on the photo sensor, the washing basins have to have a photo sensor so you don't touch anything. And then there's extra cost for businesses to get all this high-tech stuff into your small restaurants. So it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's truly ridiculous. And yeah, like I said, I can't believe people even have any interest in being involved with these things anymore. There's nothing good about government. It's inherently evil. So what else are you up to with Bitcoin? I know you're doing a few things.
Sure. Well, what I'm doing is I do trading. On different exchanges. You can call it that I'm providing liquidity or I'm the market maker. I have accounts at all the Mexican exchanges. I have accounts at several European exchanges, and I'm just moving the bitcoins and the euros and pesos around, creating liquidity for the exchanges and creating profit for myself, which I can do from the computer, which is really nice. I also do presentations and consultations about Bitcoin here in the area and in Guadalajara when there are meetups or things. I did a presentation here in the area for the expats, how Bitcoin can help them with their moving the money around from US, from Canada here to buy something, or even just their social security money. They have to go through the ATMs, they have horrible charges. They have horrible limits. So I do like all this Bitcoin related promotion, and I set up people if they want to receive Bitcoin also for the businesses. If they want to receive Bitcoins in the business, I do all this consulting and promotion of the Bitcoin over here in the area.
That's great. You're definitely going to enjoy Anarchapulco then, because most of the Mexican Bitcoin community will all be here. I believe you just met with a good friend of mine, Jose Rodriguez, he was mentioning. So it sounds like you'll all be a lot of Bitcoin people here. Of course, Roger Ver is going to be here, Cody Wilson. So many amazing Bitcoin related people. So it's going to be great. It's going to be on the beach, February 27th to March 1st, I believe. I'm starting to forget the dates. Yeah, February 27th to March 1st. And just go to anarchapulco.com if you're listening to this on the radio. Anarchast is on the radio around the world via satellite radio. I don't even know what stations, but I did it all through past Anarchast guest Ian Freeman, who essentially runs Free Talk Live and has a very large radio empire that I didn't even realize how big it was. So that's fantastic. So for people interested in that, check that out. Check out Anarchapulco. And that's basically it. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, Samuel?
Sure. Yeah, I think maybe yeah that was about it. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe if you want, I can say a few words about Acapulco. I was there many times in
Sure.
Acapulco. I really like the place for the vibe it has. It's not like Cancun or
No.
Los Cabos. It's very different.
Yeah, absolutely. For people who haven't been, first of all, to Mexico, it's going to be an experience for you. You won't believe how much freer it is. And then secondly, if you have been to Mexico, but you've only been to Cabo or Cancun, it's nothing like that at all. This is real Mexico. This is actually a 500-year-old city. The first global world trade actually was run out of Acapulco to Manila, Philippines, twice per year on Spanish galleons about 400 years ago. So it's got a very free market, very interesting culture as well. The people are very mixed because of that. There's still a lot of Asian people, Asian-looking people at least, due to all the things that used to transpire hundreds of years ago. People coming and going. So yeah, it's a very interesting place. So I think if you come down to Anarchapulco, you definitely will not enjoy yourself. I think it's almost impossible not to. So I'd like to thank Samuel Kovac for coming in. We'll see him here at Anarchapulco. And if you're up in the Lake Chapala area on the dollarvigilante.com, if you sign up for our basic subscription, it's just $15 a month. You get access to all of our TDV groups around the world, and I don't even know how many countries there is now. There's at least 50, and numerous cities in each country, including Mexico. We've got people in 5 or 10 Mexican areas and all over the world. And a lot of people, right, even as I'm speaking, are traveling around, and I can just see them in the groups. We have Facebook groups for them all, private Facebook groups, and you just see people. I think someone just arrived in Acapulco today, so a bunch of the people here are connecting with him, and then there's someone else just arrived in Paraguay, so he just connected with the people in Asuncion. So that's another great thing to do. If you're really interested in travel or even looking to expatriate, that's another great way. But I think that's enough plugs for all my stuff for today. I didn't mean to overdo it like that, but I just got started. And so yeah, I'd like to thank Samuel Kovac. We'll see you down here in a few months at Acapulco. And that's been it for Anarchcast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
This is Anarchast.